Hello guys, and welcome to the second season of the Discord.net bot development series. In this season, we will be taking a closer look to coding conventions, making our code structured, and improving overall some of the things that we've done in season 1, which has been a couple of months ago. Now, in this season, we will have approximately 11 episodes. In these episodes, we will talk about setting up the Discord bot, running the Discord bot for the first time, creating our own command handler, working with analyzers and coding conventions, getting familiar with commands, how they work, attributes that they have, and how we can make our own commands, working with embeds, how do we create them, how can we make our own pre-made ones and easily use them without repeating our code over and over again. How we can work with APIs, think about how we can send a request to the Reddit API to get a random meme. Getting familiar with events. How do we bind events to certain methods? And how do we make sure that those methods do not block the gateway? Because sometimes when you have a very heavy method bound to an event, that might block the gateway, and that's not something you want. Another thing we will be taking a look at is creating our own module base. This allows us to implement custom features within the module base. For instance, when in the previous season we talked about interactivity, when you would use the interactive base, you would get different methods at your disposal. And how can we create our own module base and add our own methods at our own disposal to the module base? We will also take a look at moderation commands. How do we make moderation commands? These can be very simple ones, such as kick, ban commands, but also mutes and also warnings. And with warnings and mutes, we will this time also work with creating a database again and setting everything up within C#. We will also take a closer look in interactivity. How do we work with interactivity? How can we wait for the next message of a new user? How can we do something when someone responds with a certain emote that we have? So instead of waiting for a message, wait for an emote. How can we implement that? How does paginated messages work? Where, for instance, if you have a help command, you might want to have an embed which has multiple pages. Or for instance, when you have a music bot to display the queue, how do you make that? And how do you make it in a way that it works well, that is efficient, and that your code all remains structured and clear? Before we begin with season 2, it's important to mention that in this series you won't learn a lot more regarding the Discord API. There will be a lot more in-depth details that we will go into, but main features that we will be implementing have already been implemented in season 1. This is purely a more in-depth season to improve already the existing code, make it more structured, make it better, and also go more in details. It's also recommended that if you haven't already watched season 1, to go and watch season 1. Keep in mind that even if you haven't watched season 1, we will start this entire project from the ground up. We will have our own new bot. We will start from all the way from the beginning, but it does require you to have some basic knowledge regarding C# and potentially also some basic knowledge regarding Discord.net. That doesn't take away that every single thing that we will be doing will be explained properly so that you can understand it. But keep in mind that if you would like to expand this, then you would have to know more about C# itself and Discord.net itself. And the final thing I'd like to say before starting is that the Discord server we have created for season 1 is still here. Now it's no longer just related to Discord.net, it's just decoding with Fahan Discord server, and you can ask any questions related to programming, C# or Discord.net in that server. If you bump into any issues during this season or season 1, or any other issues in general, you're more than welcome to ask your questions in there. Keep in mind that for this series, you will need Visual Studio Community. Now, in this episode, I will not explain exactly how to install that, or that you can look back to the first episode of the first season. This episode goes in depth about what you need to install, specifically which software that might be needed, and which components of Visual Studio you will need during that series, and that also includes this series. The only thing you would not need to install will be XAMPP, as we will install that later on in this video, but we won't install XAMPP. We will use a bit of a different way of installing MySQL that's a bit more convenient. For now, all you would need is Visual Studio Community, including all components such as the .NET Desktop Development Kit and everything you might need to both run and create .NET applications. We will also be using .NET 5.0. This is a new version of .NET compared to the version that we used in Season 1, which is then back then 3.1. Now we will actually use 5.0. Let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is open up Visual Studio. In Visual Studio, when you have this window, you can click Create a New Project. In here, you want to search for a console app, which is .NET Core, that type. Now, if you search for this, you will find a few results. Some might not even be exactly what you would want. These are just popular suggestions, but if you go a bit more down, you will see other results based on your search. And then the first one with the green C# icon and the console behind it will be the one that you want. Now in here, we can give our project a name. For Season 2, we will be sticking with the name Watermelon. This is going to be a name that I will be using for the bot. I have a few icons that I can use related to this mod or a nice logo, but this is up to you. You can change the name, you can change any colors or logos that we use throughout this entire season. That's all up to you, and I will also let you know when you can use your own names. But basically, whenever I'm referring to Watermelon, we're referring to the bot that was made during this series. In case you would like to use the name Watermelon, that's fine, or whatever your name you have, you would just have to fill it in right over here. And for me, that will be Watermelon. If you have another name, then you just fill it in right here as the project name. Now also, you can change the location of where you would like your project to be located at. I will just place it in the default location, but if you have a different location that you like, or even on a different drive, then you can change that over here. Next, create the project. Wait a few seconds for Visual Studio to create it. And as soon as it's created, we will start with installing a few packages that we will need. Now again, because this is already done in a previous season, I will not explain in depth exactly what I will be doing, but I will explain exactly which steps we might want to go through. And what exactly is going on behind those steps can be found in previous episodes or also online if you want to know a bit more about each step. The first thing that we want to do is install the Discord nuget packages, which we will be using throughout this episode. We will also be using a specific library made by Hoxie, which is the discord.addons.hosting library, which will make it a lot easier for us to get our bot up and running. Let's start with adding the nuget packages to our solution. First thing you want to do is head over to Tools over here and press the nuget package manager option. Then you want to go to Manage nuget packages for solution. Wait a few seconds for everything to load in and then head over to Browse. Now the first thing that we want to install are the discord.net packages. There's quite a few, but the ones that we will need is discord.net, the latest stable 2.3.1. Now keep in mind, there might be a new release of discord.net. It's not very likely, but if it is, just make sure you pick the last option possible and then install it to your project. Hitting install. And after a few seconds, we will get a pop-up and that will ask us about if we accept or deny the terms of service of that package, which is this one. Simply click on I accept when you accept these licenses. You can read throughout them. Usually these are just licenses related to the libraries to ensure that you're not using them from the wrong purpose. When you've read them and accepted them, you can hit the I accept button. The other one that we will use is discord.net core. Again, select the project and install it. We will also use the WebSocket. So hit WebSocket, make sure it's selected and hit install. The next one that we will use is discord.net.commands. Again, select your project and install. And the final one that we will use is discord.addons.hosting. This one should appear a bit more down, but if you are not seeing it, simply type in discord.addons.hosting in the search bar, and it should appear as one of the only options made by Hoxie. Install it to your project, accept the terms, and that are all the libraries that we will be using for now. Now the next step that we have to go through is creating an application within Discord for our bot. Now exactly in detail how this goes and what it means can again be found in Season 1, but for now all we will have to do before coding is creating this Discord application. For this, you open up your browser and you head towards discord.com/developers/applications. This is the developer portal, as Discord calls it, and here you can find all applications made by you or by one of your teams. Now, simply here, you click on New Application, and you give your application a name. Now, I will be calling my application Watermelon, and then you can pick whichever team you would like it to have. I will only use my personal team, and then hit Create. Now in here, there's a few things you can see, but none of which we will be using because we will head towards Bot, where we can add bot, which basically means that this application will now be transformed to a Discord bot. Press on Add Bot, and it will again give you a pop-up, and you'll say, yes, do it. Now here, you will have a few options. You can, for instance, reveal the token or copy it. You can regenerate it. You can change the username, the icon. You can also enable specific intents, which we will talk about later. And you can get the permissions integer for permission that you might want to use. And more about this can be found in the Discord API documentation and about what this exactly means. Now for now, let's go back to general information and change our app icon to something that we like. Specifically for Watermelon, this Discord bot, I've made a few icons. One of them is the logo. I just added it. When you're done, hit Save Changes. Now, your bot should also change. If it doesn't, you can again manually change the icon of the bot to something else. This doesn't have to be the same as the application's icon. Now, when you're developing, there's one more thing that you might want to know. In here, there's an option that says Public Bot. Public bots can be added by anyone. When unchecked, only you can join this bot to servers. When developing a Discord bot, or when you have a Discord bot only meant for your own server, and you make your code in a way that might be dangerous when it's exposed to a different server, or perhaps your code would collapse, then it's important that you uncheck this. That way, only you are able to add bots to certain Discord servers, while if you don't uncheck this, anyone can add your bot to any server they might like. Now that's it for this episode. In the next episode, we will start talking about actually coding the Discord bot. This was simply an introductory video about what this series will be about, what we will be discussing, and setting some basics up that we will have to use later on. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in episode 2 of season 2. Have a nice day.